Welcome to the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside sunny, beautiful Louisville, Kentucky, and in Maryland, the land of pleasant living. John Webster, my longtime friend, how are you doing this morning?
Hey man, I'm doing great, man. I hope everybody's doing well. Another exciting week in sports. We got some great topics we're going to talk about. We got an exciting guest I'm going to introduce in a couple of seconds. Before I do that, I want to say hey to our traffic cop, John Pitt. John is a little bit under the weather. I've been in communication. He's doing well, he's improving. But John, we miss you and can't wait until you get back on the air, my friend.
hmm
Now, with that being said, I'm using one of my euphemisms, Gary.
Hmm.
I'm as happy as a pig in slop in Salisbury to have the guest I got today. We got the one, the only Henry H.J. Discombobulating Jones.
We're ready to do it, so let's step to it. Certainly my pleasure to once again be on the Daily Deuce. So let's get to the juice.
Hey man, it's great to have you, man. Today we're going to talk some boxing. We're going to talk some NFL, and if we got a chance, we're going to talk a little bit about this NCAA and this team from South Bend that I love that is just slowly
Mm,
fading into a memory. But
mm.
before we get to that,
Nope, not a
let's
chance.
talk about this. Let's talk about this boxing, man. We had an exciting fight this past weekend. We had Canelo Alvarez going up against Terrence Bud Crawford. We saw a unanimous decision win for Mr. Crawford. Unbelievable fight. I watched it. I'll just say I saw Crawford win 8 out of the 12 rounds. I thought it was a masterful display of boxing. What do you think, HJ?
Okay. Well, actually, you got to reorder that and say Terrence Bud Crawford went up against Canelo Alvarez because Canelo was the A side. Bud was kind of like an afterthought going for the bag. People didn't think he was going to win. Personally, I didn't think he was going to win. And you know, my track record is enviable. I'm kind of like 98-2, if you remember, over the last 20, 30 years. You know, the only other one I lost was to your boy, Sugar Ray Leonard against Hagler. Those are the only two bouts that I've called incorrect. But I'm glad that I was incorrect on this one because Bud Crawford certainly deserved the bag. He deserves the accolade. And you have to say now, in retrospect, or currently, because he's not retired, he's one of the GOATs for sure. He made it look easy. He did better than Mayweather, in my opinion. But of course, you know, that was years ago when Mayweather and Canelo fought. Still, all things being equal, but Crawford is at the top pound for pound.
Mm. Well,
Question for you. Why why did how do I want to ask this? Why did the fight look so dominant for Crawford? Why was it, HJ? Why did it seem like he could do anything he wanted in that ring?
For that very reason, because he is dominant. And I don't think we appreciate it until now. You know, and I tried to contact him on numerous occasions. He's a master chess player. Did you know that?
Hmm.
A chess player. Okay. How many boxers you know? I mean, people you know, chess players. Not a lot. Most people playing checkers. In that ring, he's playing chess because he has a high ring IQ. He gave Canelo angles. He switched up to orthodox. He did what he wanted to do. His footwork was unbelievable. He has a chin because Canelo connected a couple times, but Bud went nowhere. And he had enough power to get Canelo's respect. You know, so I mean, it was just the wrong fight for Canelo. Now that we look at it, you know, Bud does whatever he wants when he wants to. Period.
Go ahead and give some comments about it, Gary. What you got, man?
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about that until you just said it, that it was the wrong fight for Canelo, and I had picked him because even though I really wasn't as up on Crawford like you two were, I knew he had some chops. Um, the only thing about these comparisons to Floyd Mayweather, which I hadn't considered again until after the fight, is that maybe because Mayweather is more of our generation, that the recentism that we tend to have with comparing what we see right now compared to the past, that I'm like, ooh, that's a real high pedestal to put him on. But looking at the record, I guess you could really make the case. And I think the thing that I was disappointed with Alvarez is that he didn't try to assert himself. He was more reactive, he was more defensive. And like you said, Crawford cut off the ring to him in a whole lot of ways. And then when he got him, I think it was with that left that turned him around. I was like, it's a wrap at that point. I mean, he literally turned his face and almost his body around, like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the thing. I think I learned more about Crawford as a fighter in general, and stepping up 2 classes. And,
Three.
well, that's right. Yeah, 3 classes. Sorry about that. And really just controlling that fight, cutting off the angles, creating his own angles. Even when seemed like he was up against the ropes, he had an exit strategy every time. It really was a masterful chess performance, and you got to give him his props. My only question now is, do they run it back? Because with a fight like that, you have to wonder if he'll give him a rematch. He doesn't have to, and he's going to get the bag now that he's a undisputed champion. Now, what, 4 times, 4 classes?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he can basically write his own check.
You can.
I guess what I would say, I'm sorry, HJ, I didn't mean to cut you off, man. I'm sorry. And I'll just say this, and then you can go in more into it, HJ. As far as running it back, I don't know. I can say for me, I'll say for me first. I have no interest. I'll say that for me, because it just, I don't. No matter if they could fight 10 times, and sometimes, Gary, you can say that 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, Crawford beats him. And I don't know if you can get the public to buy into it, because Alvarez can't do anything different. Something I was sharing with HJ yesterday. Alvarez has a style of boxing. He is a boxer. He is a boxer, in my opinion, who goes chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5. His
Basics.
problem comes if somebody goes to chapter 27. Crawford went to chapter 1 to chapter 27, back to chapter 15, back to chapter 75. That throws somebody like, in my opinion, a Canelo off, because he is just a standard, pure boxer. He does not have what I would say a flair about it. He's just a straight up, don't get me wrong, he's a very good boxer and a great champion. But there's no, this is what you see and this is what you get. And that's pretty much what I see of Alvarez. I don't see him changing. Bud Crawford, sometimes he was fighting left-handed in that fight. Then he was fighting right-handed. Then sometimes he stand there. Then sometimes he move back. Sometimes he go on the ropes. Sometimes he go off the ropes. He can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Alvarez, in my opinion, what you see is what you're going to get every time. But HJ, you go for it. You know a whole lot more about boxing than I ever will, man. So you go and tell us what you think.
Well, actually, my words just came out of your mouth. I mean, you encapsulated it all, man. But you gave me a little flashback. You was talking about the chapters. You remember chapter 3, the nightclub?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like Bud, unpredictable with chapters.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
oh
So
no.
I
Oh
just got
man.
you
Not
know
chapter
about that,
three.
Gary? You know about
Uh,
chapter 3?
yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
And all I will say is, yes, I know about
Mhm.
chapter 3. That's all I will
So
say.
yeah, just like
Continue.
Bud,
Yeah,
it was some unpredictable things that could happen that night.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, continue with your analysis, Professor Jones.
Oh my goodness. So anyway, you're right though. He and Gary, of course, your analysis was spot on. He was just masterful. And the other thing is he had been waiting for this. It's one thing to be get granted the opportunity, it's another thing to visualize it. And for years he had been visualizing, I want the cash cow, which Canelo is or was.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a game plan to go up and wait to meet this man. And it came to fruition this past Saturday night. Um, to your point, John, um, they could rematch, but why? Why? There's bigger fish to fry now for Canelo, even in defeat, because Turkey Al Sheikh and the general public wants him to fight this guy they call the Mexican monster, Benavidez. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that's actually a bigger fight, Canelo and Benavidez, than it would be for Crawford and Benavidez because of
Mm-hmm.
the ethnicity involved. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Going on a
Mm-hmm.
Mexican holiday, this, that, and the third. However, Crawford deserves that fight if he wants it. If he wants it. Maybe he rides off into the sunset now. I don't know. Maybe he fights you're gonna hate this, the YouTuber, and gets 50 million plus out of the deal. And you know what YouTuber I'm talking about.
Jake Paul.
Absolutely. He's the cash cow for that. I know you don't like it, but that's why Tank Davis is fighting him, because Tank don't want to fight anymore for real. So he's getting a big bag, 50 mil, and he'll probably call it quits. Maybe. I don't know his lifestyle. I don't know what he's, going through, but 50 mil I could live off for the rest of my life. I don't know about you two. Probably not you two, but
Have you ever seen John eat?
it won't last a year, huh?
Yeah, but the now the question is, what is left for Crawford? Because he got a bag for this fight, but I guess given his age, and more about the division than either of us do. I mean, is there another big fight for him, or does he ride off into the sunset as you alluded to?
I guess the one would be against Benavidez at 168.
Yeah,
Turkey Alley, she got the money for it. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah. I'm
which
shocked that
which
there's that
which
much money out there. I mean when I saw the payouts between I guess what was it? Alvarez got 150,
Yeah, man. And that's
and Crawford got 50. And I'm like, I didn't know that kind of money what really was out there in boxing, just considering its profile versus MMA and such.
it wasn't until Mayweather set the record, of course, you know, against Conor McGregor and against Pacquiao. He got big bags for those. But then this guy, as I said, Turkey Al Sheikh, with his unlimited resources from Saudi Arabia with the oil, he's saying, I can make it happen. You just tell me which fights the public want to see, and he's going to make it happen. So this is where we are. And they had it on Netflix to whet your appetite. I don't think it's going to be free forever. No. you know, they just did it this time to get you looking at it again, and then they'll go to a pay-per-view.
with Dana White being involved in this, is this going to be something that's going to be for a long time, or is this just a one-time thing with Dana White being involved?
Well, I think they have to sit down now and see if that partnership can continue to work, going forward. It seemed to have worked this past Saturday, but egos being involved as they are, I don't know if they're going to stay together. But understand, Dana White and your president has something cooking up for the White House next July
Yeah.
4th. with
That's
MMA.
gonna be with the MMA or the UFC, whatever. That's
Yeah,
gonna be
with Conor McGregor. The
right on the White House
aforementioned,
lawn.
yeah, the aforementioned
Mhm.
Conor McGregor.
Yeah, yeah. So
I'm going to refrain comment on that one, because yeah, only because of my reverence for the White House,
I hear you. The people's house.
the people's house.
The
Yes.
people's house. So we'll
so
see. We'll see. But I like where
now,
boxing is going. I do. Let me say
okay.
that. I think now the bar has been set a little bit higher. So we're gonna get, meaning the public is gonna get the fights that they've been clamoring for. I think that's what's gonna happen. Hopefully it
And
happens.
I think we're going to see that. Gary and you have both said something earlier about Crawford going off in the sunset. I don't know too many boxers who go away on the sunset on top, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, I think he I think he goes back and he fights again. I don't know who he fights. Um, this was a great opportunity for him. I would This is just me. I wouldn't stay at 168 because this fight with Canelo was a perfect match for him. It was a perfect matchup. It was everything fit him as he was. I don't know if everybody else in 168 is what he would want as a matchup. Benavidez is 168. I would try to get him to come down to 160 and have a catch weight right there. I don't even know who else is in 160 to be honest with you, HJ and Gary. Um, he's
Nobody by name that you would know.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think he's too big now to get down to 147 to go down there and fight 147. That's what I
Correct.
think. So
Yeah. Nope.
I would probably hang around 160. Now 168. That you're gonna find some others in that category who aren't picture perfect made for him like Canelo Alvarez was.
Good
So
point. Good point.
we'll see what's going to happen. But you guys tell me what you think on that, and then we're going to slide on over to some football. But what do y'all think is next there?
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, I think, yeah, and that's really kind of the challenge in boxing now. For me, it was great to see a fight of consequence, that first fight of consequence that I can remember in recent memory. Um, and I mean, there was interest in it. There were people, there was buzz before the fight. You saw all the stars that turned out for it. They filled a football stadium. That says a lot. Um, and you really got to build on that. You got to build interest on interest in that in the upper divisions. Like the diamond division heavyweights. I couldn't even tell you who the heavyweight champion is. I don't know if anybody can tell you who that is compared. And this is the problem that boxing faces. If Dana White is involved, maybe its profile rises a little bit, enough to where Saturday night, if you stay up until like almost 2 a.m. to watch a fight, where it's worth it, it becomes that habit again, like we used to. I just hope that this isn't a one-off event, and then boxing kind of settles back down, to that, I'll say to that tier where it's below, UFC, MMA, and even though I'm not into that as much, that's a sport, that's a division where I kind of know some of the players and I kind of follow along. Maybe even with women's boxing. Its spotlight has a chance to rise, and they need to uh, build on that with their bankable stars or bankable star, Clarissa Shields.
Right. No, good point. Well taken. Again, John not gonna like this, but if I'm Crawford, I go for the bag. The legacy is already established. So come on, Jake Paul, let's do this. Sorry, John, but come on,
Look,
come on.
I'm
Come
that
on.
old grumpy man. I can't do that one, man.
If it makes dollars, it makes sense. And this
Well,
man,
you know what? You've always told me. You've always
I
told me
got to
that.
write that one down.
Yeah,
well,
you've always
reference me the
told me
first
that.
time, and you can have it after that, Gary.
Okay.
Yeah. You've always told me that if it makes dollars, it makes
Makes
sense, John,
sense.
and it will make dollars without a doubt.
Yeah,
It will make
yeah.
dollars.
And,
Well, here's the only thing I would ask.
mm,
If you're going to have the match, let it be a real match. What do I mean by this?
nope,
What,
nope. Stop
what,
right there. Jake Paul don't do real matches. Stop.
but you know where I'm going, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what you and I talked about with Jake Paul and Tyson,
Mm-hmm.
and and what Tyson was not allowed to do.
Exactly.
I if you want to do it, Jake Paul, do it. No stipulations. Just do it.
That
Just
ain't
do
gonna
it.
happen.
Yeah.
That ain't gonna
And
happen.
what and HJ, if you don't mind, if I'm not saying something I'm not supposed to say, could you share with Gary and our audience what I'm talking about with Tyson and Jake Paul, what Tyson was not allowed to do?
He wasn't allowed to knock him out. Simply put.
See, yeah. See,
Gary, did
yeah.
you see it? Did you see any of it?
No, I didn't watch that debacle.
But
I just couldn't
Well,
but
because
was
to
one
me it
key
was
thing,
pro wrestling. That's what it was. It was like pro wrestling.
and it
but
was, it was in the
was it in
contract. It was in the
that's what I
contract.
wanted you to say. That's what I
It was in
wanted
the
you to say.
contract.
It was in the contract.
And so what Mike did to remind himself is every time he was about to throw that vaunted left hook, he would bite his own glove. Look at it on YouTube, Gary. He would literally bite his glove to keep from throwing it. And that reminded him, don't hit this man. So they was in the clinch one time, and Jake Paul whispered to him, Mike, remember the money.
So that's why I'm saying what I said, Gary. If he fights Jake Paul, then let's do it with no stipulation. Let's make it a
Yeah,
real match.
Nah,
yeah.
that's not gonna happen.
And Paul, yeah, and Paul ain't gonna let that happen because
No.
it's all about the show for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, with that being said, speaking of not letting something happen, let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about this NFL and this NFC East. How the Eagles wouldn't let it happen and lose to the Chiefs. How Dallas wouldn't let it happen and they found a way to beat the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
And how the Commanders let it happen and
Mm-hmm.
lost to the Packers. So, and then let's keep in mind coming up this week, there's a very nasty rumor going around that Jaden Daniels has an injured knee, may not be able to play this week. What say you, HJ? What say you, Gary?
I'll defer to Gary.
Okay. Thank you. It's well, when I saw that, it's concerning to me, and it stokes a concern for Daniels that I've always had, that at that, and I'm going to use this word, with that wispy frame,
Mm.
that
Wow. We
it
went back.
leads to. Hmm? I
We
mean,
went back for that word.
yeah, we went way
Really?
back. Hey, look, I threw some terms at my journalism students yesterday that I'm telling you that I could see the question marks over their head, like, what is he talking about? And I told them, ask your grandparents. Anyway,
Wispy.
yeah. But I mean, I'll say with that slim frame that he has, for all of his agility, for all of his skills, for all of his arms, that you have a frame that makes you a target. And even if you don't take that big hit, that when you take off running like that, I wish he had built up some more bulk for the riggers. So you've seen Lamar Jackson do it. And he's also becoming smarter about when he takes off running.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, you saw it, with Michael Vick, and you see it with Jalen Hurts too, who is never a small dude, but he especially against Kansas City, he was very, very smart about passes versus runs, and when your first instinct is to take off running, and you're that thin, it's like it's open season. or it's a chance for, again, one of those little nagging injuries that can keep him out for, for 2 or 3 weeks. The fact that he's questionable just tells me maybe it's a bruise. If it's a strain or something, I'd say you got to really, really think about whether you want to use him against the Raiders versus the rest of your immediate schedule. I mean, again, what happened in Green Bay didn't surprise me. I think I had that one as an L, John Webster, and and again, I think they're going to take a few more L's, whether he's healthy or not, because again, the teams are geared up to beat contenders, so-called contenders, and the Commanders are now in that echelon, because they really set the bar high last season. But Jaden Daniels, somebody's got to get with him to become stronger and more durable, because you just cannot have these kind of injuries with that body.
So neither one of you want to allude to it, but shades of RG3, huh?
Yeah. I'm not quite
And
ready
I'm
to
not
go there
laughing at
yet,
him. I'm not.
but I get your point. I get your point. And you know why it's different? Because they're playing on a much better field than RG3 hurt his knee on.
They are. But the wispy comparison remains the same.
I'll give you another old school terminology that my grandmother used to use.
Huh.
They're both lanky.
I remember that.
So they're both lanky. I think when you look back at Griffin and the situation that was there, I think it was a myriad of concerns there with Griffin not agreeing with the type of offense he was running, concerns about how soon he came back from the knee injury, concerns about how he dealt with his teammates. I think with Daniels, I think he is looked upon as somebody who's leading this team, this organization. Size-wise, he is very similar to Griffin. I agree with that. And what he is showing, which I hope does not continue, last year he fell on the ball when he had a long run and he cracked a rib. This year he got hit on his knee and now he has a knee injury. I don't want him to be categorized as somebody who is injury prone. I think his thoughts on the offense and how it's utilized and how he's utilized, I think Daniels is different than Griffin from that standpoint. I hear you, HJ. I hear what you're saying. I guess the biggest similarity that I see is maybe the injury situation, and I'm hoping that does not rear its ugly head. I'm hoping maybe he's able to play this week, and if he can, he sits out and he gets him ready for the rest of the season. I'm hoping that this is not some type of lingering knee injury that can become something else. So we'll see how that goes. As a whole, I think the Commanders need to improve. I think they need to get more production out of the wide receivers. I think McLaurin is going to be productive as the season goes on. Keep in mind, guys, he didn't have a preseason. So these first couple weeks are like his preseason. He's in shape, but he's not in game shape. So he's getting there. This defense is going to have to rev up to another level. Josh Jacobs had some very good runs against them last week. And I think Jordan Love made some very, very good passes as well. So we'll see how that goes, man. And let's slide over a little bit, still in the NFC East.
I want to make one more point.
Okay, go ahead.
They need a running game, especially without Austin Eckler. They
Yeah.
need a ground game. They need, that back. And if you still, I think you have to get over. I'm trying to think of who else was Robinson. Maybe this is an opportunity for him. or I'm sorry, not Robinson.
Not
Chris
Robinson.
Rodriguez. Yeah, Chris Rodriguez.
They're talking about Rodriguez, but the other guy that has like 3 or 4 names, they call him Bill.
Crosby Merritt.
Yeah. So
Crosby Merritt. Yeah, the
yeah,
rookie. I would play him now. And
yeah.
to your point about Daniels, from what I saw last night with the Raiders, they need to rest Daniels against this Vegas team coming up. Rest him. I think they can get by without him. I would err on the side of caution because it's going to be a long season, and you want him as healthy as possible. So try out some other people, game plan, around some other people, and see how that happens. Because this Vegas team scares no one anyway,
Well, we're going to see how that plays out.
and they're at home.
Yeah,
They're
and what's Vegas bringing in as a quarterback? They got Geno Smith, right?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
decent, but
Yeah,
he's predictable. You
yeah.
can take some back the other way on him. Okay.
Yeah, and not Rodriguez. What's my man? Pete Carroll's a very good coach. So
He is.
that defense for the Raiders will be solid.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Let's look at this Dallas Giants game. Dallas pulled it out, but it almost seemed like neither one of them wanted to win.
Neither. It seemed like neither one of them had a defense. That was a high scoring game. Hats off to Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott. They showed up. They really did. I like both those guys, but I don't see either one of them really being a contender this year. I don't. Now, especially coming out of NFC East. That road to the Super Bowl still leads to Philly for me, for real.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And the thing about Philly is they haven't been dominant, but they're 2-0. They go to Kansas City, a tough place to play. It's one of the loudest stadiums you'll ever be in, and there was, to me, never really a doubt. I don't know if it's because of that smackdown they put on them, last winter in the Super Bowl, whether that is still in their heads. But Philly, I think now has reached this point where, at least with Kansas City, where they're not afraid of them anymore, and they really played the aggressor in that game. It wasn't sharp, but I'm okay. I'll say this: like you said, the road leads through Philadelphia again. That part isn't surprising. The thing about Philly is that even though they haven't looked, sharp and really on point, they're 2-0, and that's a sign for the rest of the NFC that, you all better gear up for us. We don't have to be perfect, but we just have to be good enough. Well, yeah, we can be good enough to beat you week in and week out, as long as we use the pieces the right way, which they seem to be doing.
Well, guys, I guess I'm going to go out on a Salisbury street all by myself. For the last 20 years, there has not been a repeat NFC East champion. I do not see that changing this year. I don't think Philadelphia wins the NFC East. And I think that, and I'm not a fan of the next thing I'm going to say, but I think Dallas is going to surprise some people this year. They're going to be better than people think they will be. And I don't think the Eagles win the NFC East. Am I saying the Eagles are not the best team in the NFC? No. I'm saying they won't win the NFC East. Very hard to repeat. I don't think they're going to go back to the Super Bowl either. But I still think they're one of the best teams in the league. We'll see what's going to happen. I think Dallas everybody's overlooking them so much because Jerry has them in such disarray and looking like whatever Jerry Jones has them looking like. I think they're going to fool some people. Like this week, the Rams play Philadelphia. That's going to be a tougher game for Philadelphia than people think. The Rams almost beat them last year in the snow to go to the NFC Championship game. So we'll see what the Rams do. And then Dallas is going to Chicago. Chicago is just coming off a very dismal performance against Detroit where they lost, I think it was 52-21, 52-24. I think Detroit's still scoring as we're speaking. But I just think it's going to be interesting. I think the Commanders could shed some light on some things there. I think the Giants are maybe a little bit away. They what's going to keep the Giants in a lot of games this year, guys, is they have a tremendous defense. They
Yeah.
have a great defense with Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence. They're tremendous on defense. That's going to keep them in a lot of games. Um, but we'll see. That's just my thoughts, guys. I can see how y'all looking at me. You think I done lost my country mind, and I can understand it. HJ just sitting there. Yeah, you lost your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would disagree with you about the Eagles because now I'll say this. I'll make it quick because I know we got to wind this down. I think New York, the Giants are better than their record indicates. I think Dallas is a team to watch, and I also think the Commanders, they really have to reassess things and how they're using that offense because I believe that they have underutilized some offensive weapons that they have, and
Mhm.
they really do need to tighten up that defense. And again, I agree with Henry that this is a game where you rest Daniels. The Raiders don't scare anybody, and this is a game I feel like you can probably win at home and not use your Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, your number one draft choice, yada yada yada.
Al Davis is looking at you really strangely from up in heaven, as you say that his Raiders don't scare anybody, Gary. That's almost blasphemous what you just said about the Raiders.
Just
But
win,
When
baby.
was the last time they were relevant? Yeah, I dare you to find the last year they were truly relevant.
oh, wow. 1975. But anyway,
Well, I'm gonna go more recent than that. 2003 when they went to the Super Bowl, and I think what Callahan was coach, and I mean that's what 22 years, 22
yeah.
years, and you can't pick out one time when they were really relevant over that span. That's horrible. It's horrible.
Hey man, this is what we're gonna do, Gary. Before I let you take it home, I'm gonna go to HJ. HJ, you're a big fan of the WNBA. Give me a
I
quick synopsis of what we need to be looking for as we move closer to these playoffs for the WNBA. Who's the team
am.
to watch? Tell us what we need to watch for.
Well, I think that the Las Vegas Aces have gotten their act together now with Asia
Big
Wilson.
time. Big
But
Mhm.
I kind of like Minnesota, the Minnesota Lynx. I
Okay.
think that they've had some close calls to get there to win it. I think now with Nafisha Collier playing MVP level and she's got help around her, they could certainly see the Aces again. And I like the format that the WNBA has. They don't do the one against two. They do one against the 8 seed and things like that. So I think the two best teams at the end of the year is going to be Minnesota Lynx meeting up with the Las Vegas Aces. Don't discount New York. And that's the X factor there. They
Mhm.
loaded as well. But for my money, I'm looking at the Lynx.
Yeah. What do you think
Sounds
about the
good, man.
Dream, the Atlanta Dream coming on?
They still dreaming.
I mean, I think who is it? This they were second to, or was it third now?
I think they second. Yeah, they got a good
Yeah.
team. Don't get me wrong. With Brittany Griner, Ryan Howard,
Mhm.
Alicia Gray. They got some pieces, but I think they're just too young right now. They're gonna be a contender in a couple years to come to win it all, but I don't think right now is the time.
Gary, go ahead and take us home, man.
Well, I tell you, it's hard to follow up on that discussion or the discussions that we've had, but I'll try. With college football coming up, we're getting into the league portions for a lot of teams, and I think that will tell the tale for a lot of them. John Webster, I want to say I think it was right to keep Notre Dame in the poll despite being 0-2. I think they are the best 0-2 team to be ranked. And they're Notre Dame. I still think they're a team of consequence and relevance, but they play a tough schedule. And you could say they are what their record says, but they're also Notre Dame. They will find a way. So we've got that. We're getting a little bit deeper into the pennant races. So that's something to consider. Watch those games. Of course, watch those Commanders. But most importantly, come back and watch us. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. Let us know. HJ, we always appreciate you coming on and offering perspective on a great many things.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks everybody for watching the show today. Another great show. As Gary says, watch some football, watch pro football, watch the college football, watch the WNBA, watch some soccer. But above all else, just watch some sports. Come back and see us again. Take care. HJ, close us out with something nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, clap your hands where you stand, stomp your feet at your seat, use your voice of choice when you want the juice. Always tune in to John Webster, Gary Graves on the Daily Dose.
Take care.
Peace.